one is hydrogen, another one is oxygen. This hydrogen will be separately collected. This is hydrogen fuel cell. We have a fuel cell membrane, and in that experiment only light will glow. It shows that some electricity will be passing it through this water, and some energy will be flowing with it. It's a very simple experiment we are studying in your childhood days. The same thing nowadays we are collecting the hydrogen separately, oxygen separately. This hydrogen we call it as the hydrogen fuel cell, and it will act like a battery. And in the replacement of battery, you can use the fuel cell and run your vehicles. This is the major this thing. And now I will take you to this where this will be located. And this is about vehicle. You take a van, small van, and the liquid hydrogen tank will be there. Liquid oxygen tank will be there. Two tanks will be there here, and motor controls will be there. Then you have a fuel electrolyte. Electrolyte radiator is there. Our induction motor is there, and the gearbox is there. Electric reservoir, and 32 fuel cell modules will be there. That is called. Uh, uh, that is we call it as electrode. Fuel cell electrode will be there. 32 fuel cell membranes are there here, and it takes the oxygen, it takes the purified water into this, and water will be split into two forms. One is hydrogen, another one is oxygen. So this by using of the fuel cell membrane will takes the hydrogen energy. It will be acting as the fuel cell. This is the hydrogen fuel cell arrangement, and hydrogen the water will be split into hydrogen into oxygen. And hydrogen will be using as hydrogen fuel cell by using of this electrode. And these are the 32 electrodes will be kept here for having of charging of this and splitting of the water into the hydrogen into oxygen form. And this is called about the fuel cell, and this is the fuel cell stop. We call it the fuel cell stop. From this, like a battery, we will be connecting to the motor, and motor will be connecting to the gears, and the vehicle will be moves, motor controls and all. Liquid hydrogen tank and liquid oxygen tank, we are going to see it. And you can see this fuel cell membrane or electrolyte radiator will split into different form of energy. This is called hydrogen fuel cell. And this is about the arrangement of the tanks and all. You can see this. This is the fuel cell arrangement. And if you take a simple experiment, what I told previously, and we have the taking a small vessel. Inside the vessel, we are going to put two membranes, two catalysts. We are going to keep it. One is for hydrogen, another one is for oxygen purpose, and keeping it to inside the water. And you are giving a small splitting of the water electrolysis process. By this electrolysis process, we are going to light up the lamp, and bulb will be glossy. That is the energy that we shows that energy will be coming out from the electrolysis process of splitting of water into two forms, hydrogen and oxygen. And the basically definition of the fuel cell will be a fuel cell is an electrochemical device that produces electricity without combustion by combining hydrogen and oxygen to produce water and heat. Basically, splitting of the water into through electrolysis process, which will form into hydrogen and oxygen. This hydrogen will be collected, and hydrogen and oxygen will use the energy through this heat only. We don't have any combustion because splitting of the water into two forms, electrode and anode and cathode, and giving a small energy that is called an electrolysis process. And so, a fuel cell is an electrochemical device that produces electricity without combustion by combining hydrogen and oxygen to produce the water and heat. This is a normal water. You can take the normal water, saline water, or a salt water, and split the water into two forms, keeping the anode and cathode in a small vessel and giving the electricity connection, and just supplying the electrolysis process. After this process, we are going to get the energy. That energy is called the heat. Heat energy we are going to get, or electrical energy we are going to get from this experiment. Discovered by German scientist Joachim Schoebing and first developed by William Grove. In 1839, Grove was experimenting an electrolysis process by which water is. Hello? Please mute yourself. The process by which water is split into hydrogen and oxygen by an electric current. Through the supplying of small electric current or battery, through this power, water will be split through electrolysis process, water will be split into hydrogen into oxygen. Then he observed that combining the same elements could also produce an electric current. In 1930 and 1950, Francis Thomas Bacon, a British scientist, worked in developing the alkaline fuel cell. And previously, I told about the hydrogen fuel cells. We have an alkaline fuel cells also. He demonstrated a working stack in 1958 itself, and this technology was licensed and Pratt and Whitney, where it was utilized for the Apollo spacecraft fuel cells. And this is basically fuel cell have more advantages comparing with the other energies. Advantages for a conventional energy sources. They produce zero or very low emissions because generally you won't get any emissions. So this, especially greenhouse gases, depending on the fuel use. What type of fuel you are going to use it, either alkaline fuel or hydrogen fuel or water. Have a few moving parts and thus requires minimal maintenance, reducing life cycle costs of energy production. Have a few moving parts and thus requirements of minimal maintenance, reducing a life cycle cost of energy production. And modular in design, offering flexibility in size and efficiencies in manufacturing. Modular in design, offering a flexibility in size and efficiencies in manufacturing. Can be used for combined heat and power purposes, further increasing the efficiency of energy production. Can be utilized for a combined heat and power sources purposes, further increasing the efficiency of a energy storage. And this in this actually you can use directly also fuel cell, like a solar energy, you can use the energy, or you can store the energy and you can use it. And the main working principle of this fuel cell is a fuel cell is a device that uses hydrogen or hydrogen rich fuel and oxygen to create the electricity by an electrochemical process. Electrolysis process or electrochemical process. A fuel cell is a device that uses hydrogen or hydrogen rich fuel and oxygen to create the electricity by an electrochemical process. A single fuel cell consists of an electrolyte sandwiched between two thin electrodes, a porous anode and cathode. The material, two materials will be there in between the electrode or electrolyte. There we are going to have an action and we are going to get an energy. Hydrogen or hydrogen rich fuel cell is fed to the anode, where a catalyst separates hydrogen negatively charged electrons from positively charged ions, protons. Hydrogen or hydrogen rich fuel cell is fed to the anode, where a catalyst separates hydrogen's negatively charged electrons from positively charged ions. It's called protons. As the cathode, oxygen combines with electrons and in some cases with the species such as protons or water, resulting in water or hydroxide ions respectively. At the cathode, oxygen combines with electrons and in some cases with the species such as protons or water or resulting in water or hydroxide ions respectively. This is about anode and cathode and electrolysis process and splitting of water into hydrogen and oxygen. The electrons from the anode side of the cell cannot pass through the membrane to the positively charged cathode. Okay, the electrons from the anode side of the cell cannot pass through the membrane to the positively charged cathode. They must travel around it via an electrical circuit to reach the other side of the cell. The movement of electrons is an electric current. The movement of electrons and having a reaction with cathode and anode through the electrolysis process, we call it as the electrons from the anode side of the cell cannot pass through this membrane to the positively charged cathode. They must travel around it via an electrical circuit to reach the other side of the cell. This movement of the electrons is an electrical current. And the amount of power produced by a fuel cell depends upon the several factors, such as the fuel cell type, cell size, the temperature at which it operates, and the pressure at which the gases are supplied to the cell. Basically, depends upon the what type of thing you are going to use. Particularly in our laboratory, we have a fuel cell experiment, and you can see the experiment practically whenever you are visiting the campus. You can see the experiment, and we have a fuel cell lab also. In this, I also made one fuel cell, hydrogen fuel cell, and with a fuel cell membrane running a small car with a, and water will be splitting with the power of the fuels solar power. By taking of the solar cells power, and it will taking to split into uh, hydrogen water into hydrogen and oxygen, distilled water, and we have a fuel cell membrane. In that fuel cell membrane, the energy will be stored, and that energy will be using to run a small car. And fuel, I kept the solar panel on the top, and we have a small wheels, and inside the in between we are going to have a fuel cell, and fuel cell is connected to the motor, and motor is connected to the wheels, and it will be running it. It's a small experiment we made in 2014, and we have gone for the patent also for this. And in this actually it is in the examination stage, uh, and we have split it into hydrogen into oxygen, and this is a hydrogen fuel cell. And in our lab also we have different types of fuel cells are available in the fuel cell lab. You can see it. Still a single fuel cell produces enough electricity for only the smallest applications. Because for the smallest applications like a small car, prototype car running with this, going to use the with the solar energy we're using, we are not using any batteries. We are using a solar panel. We'll be splitting the water into the hydrogen form, distilled water, and this energy will be stored in the hydrogen fuel cell membrane. This membrane will act as a battery, and that will be connected to the motor, and automatically the vehicle will be runs. Therefore, individual fuel cells are typically combined in a series into a fuel cell stock. We have a series of batteries like battery 1, battery 2, battery 3. Like a fuel cell stocks also can be having numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4 depends upon how much power is required and what is the movement of it. And the same power of fuel cell stocks can be using it, and how much tanks will be using it as a hydrogen tank or oxygen tank or a distilled water tank. A typical fuel cell stock may consist of hundreds of fuel cells. Suppose if you want to run a car, depends upon the cubic capacity of the engine. Again, we are going to have how much capacity of the fuel, how much speed you want to go, how much load you want to go. These are things to be calculated like a battery car, like a solar car. We can have this fuel cell stock, and this fuel cell stock will act as like a battery, and the fuel cell stock is connected to the motor, and motor will be running it. Fuel cells are classified primarily by kind of electrolyte they employ. This determines the kind of chemical reactions that takes place in the cell, the kind of catalyst required, the temperature range in which the cell operates, the fuel required, and the other factors will be taken into consideration. Fuel cells are classified primarily by the kind of electrolyte. What type of electrolyte we are going to use it, and they employ. This determines the kind of chemical reactions that take place in the cell, the kind of catalyst required, the temperature range in which the cell operates, the fuel required, and other factors will be taken into consideration. There are several types of fuel cells currently under development, each with its own advantages, limitations, and potential applications. And there are the several type of fuel cells, wherever we are having this type of electrolysis process, and where we are going to have with the different materials, different people are trying, different R&D people are trying it with the different fuel cells. Fuel cells currently under development, each with its own advantage, limitations, and potential applications. These are the different applications we are going to have with this fuel cell. And one is the classification of fuel cell will be based on the type of electrolyte. What type of electrolyte will be producing and what type of fuel cell energy will be storing it. One is alkaline fuel cell, AFC, we call it as alkaline fuel cell, phosphoric acid fuel cell, and polymer electrolyte membrane fuel cell, and solid polymer fuel cell, and proton exchange membrane fuel cell. We have molten carbonate fuel cell, and we have solid oxide fuel cell. And these are the different types of, depends upon the electrolyte. We are going to have the 5 types of cells: alkaline fuel cell, phosphoric acid fuel cell, polymer electrolyte membrane fuel cell, and solid polymer fuel cell, and proton exchange membrane fuel cell, and molten carbonate fuel cell, and solid oxide fuel cells. And based on the type of fuel cell and oxide, and hydrogen is pure and oxygen is pure fuel cell. Hydrogen rich gas, air fuel cell, ammonia air fuel cell, and synthesis gas air fuel cell, and hydrocarbon gas air fuel cell. Based on operating temperature and based on the usage, we are going to decide the fuel cell. And alkaline fuel cells, uh, Alkaline fuel cells uses alkaline electrode such as 50% aqueous in alkaline fuel cells. The electrolyte anode where they combine with hydrogen with water and the alkaline uses alkaline electrolyte such as 40% potassium hydroxide and alkaline negative ions are the it was originally used by NASA space mission. NASA space missions use alkaline fuel cells. Alkaline fuel cells were one of the first fuel cell technology developed and they were first widely used in US space programs. It can generate the energy. These fuel cells use a solution of potassium. These fuel cells use a solution of potassium hydroxide, water as the electrolyte, and can use a variety of non-precious metals as catalyst, the anode and cathode. And high temperature AFC operates at temperature between 100 degrees and 250 degrees. And however, more recent temperatures, alkaline fuel cells operate at a temperature between degrees centigrade to
Hello, sir. Sir, your voice is breaking.
voice is breaking.
Yes, sir, like from past 2 minutes.
Okay. The temperature, okay, checking. However, more recent AFC's design operate at a lower temperature, is roughly 23 degrees and 70 degrees. And AFCs are highly performance fuel cells due to the rate at which the chemical reactions take place in the cell. And alkaline fuel cells are highly high performance fuel cells due to the rate at which chemical reactions take place in the cell, inside the membrane, where we have a more power will be generated. They are also very efficient, reaching efficiencies of 60% in space applications. Particularly, alkaline fuel cells will be using for more space applications because it produces the water and it produces the energy. And that's why they are going to use these two gases, they are mixing it, anode and cathode, and they are going to get these two things. The advantages of this fuel cell type is that it is easily poisoned by carbon dioxide, CO2. In fact, even the small amount of CO2 in the air can affect the. Yes.
Sir, the slides are not moving.
Huh?
We are in the same slide, sir, for the last 2 minutes.
Yes. Same side, huh?
Yes, sir.
Sharing mode only. It's moving.
No, no.
Hmm?
We are still in page number 12,
So-
sir.
Yes, number 12 only. Can check it now, it's moving. Now it's moving.
Yes, sir.
Okay. AFCs are highly performance cells due to the rate at which chemical reactions take place in the cell. They are also very efficient, reaching efficiencies 60% in space applications. Basically, in NASA, we'll be using long back, and they are producing the fuel cells. And even our space shuttles also, we are using the fuel cell technology. And these technologies will be using, and particularly in the, I told already, solar energy also, we are taking it from the taking up solar energy and solar energy cell. We are splitting the water into the, splitting the electrolysis process and we are making it to the fuel cell. The advantage of this fuel cell type is that easily poisoned by carbon dioxide, CO2. In fact, even a small amount of CO2 in the air can affect the cells of making it necessary to purify both the hydrogen and oxygen used in the cell. CO2 can combine with KOH to form potassium carbonate, which will increase the resistance. But this purification process is costly. Susceptibility or poisoning also affects the cell's lifetime. The amount of time before it must be replaced, further adding to the cost. Cost is less of a factor for remote locations such as space or under the sea. However, to effectively compete the most mainstream commercial markets, these fuel cells will have become more cost effective. Alkaline fuel cells stock have been shown to maintain sufficiently stable operation for more than 8,000 hours, operating hours. The very important thing is in the fuel cell is that the power, battery's power may be having um, more charging is required and all the things and all maintenance is required. But fuel cell maintenance is very less. And if you maximum period you can use the fuel cell, the same power and same usage without having any these things. And this you can see this alkaline fuel cell how will be constructed. And we have a anode and cathode. These two are the very important factors for a fuel cell, anode and cathode. And hydrogen is going to in here, and we are going to have oxygen is in here. Oxygen O2 is coming here, and as the electrical current is passing through it. Here we are going to see this, where we are going to give this energy. Can have a bulb or can have a storage or fuel cell, and OH negative will be coming here, and these two are the anode and cathode. You are seeing it, and we are going to have an action, and water and heat is out from this. And here we can see this from the cathode rays only the heat electricity will flow from here to here. Okay, positive electricity will be passing from cathode to anode, and we are going to get the charge, and we are going to blow the bulb and going to get the energy. And this is a anode reaction, and 2H2 plus 4OH gives 4H2O and 4E electrons, and cathode reactions will be given O2 plus 2H2O plus 4E will gives the 4OH negative. And this is about the reactions of anode and cathode in the alkaline fuel cell stock. And molten carbonate fuel cell is another type of fuel cell. The molten carbonate fuel cells uses a molten carbonate salt as the electrolyte. Here we have molten carbonate salt as the electrolyte, and it has a potential to be fueled with coal-driven fuel gases, methane and or natural gas. Because generally in a coal belt, whatever the gases will be coming out, and from that we are going to get this electrolysis process. Carbonate salt as taking as electrolyte, and it has the potential to be fueled with the coal-derived fuel by gases, methane and natural gas, where you are going to methane and natural gas will be coming out from the mine. These fuel cells can work at up to the 60% efficiency. Even alkaline fuel cells also having more efficient, like 60% only. And these all cells, molten carbonate fuel cells also will work to more than 60% efficiency. In the molten carbonate fuel cells, negative ions travel through the electrolyte to the anode, where they combine with hydrogen to generate water and electricity. In molten carbonate fuel cells, negative ions travel through the electrolyte to the anode, where they combine with the hydrogen to generate water and electrons. Molten carbonate fuel cells are currently being developed for a natural gas and coal-based power plants for electrical utility, industrial and military applications. And even in the Army's military applications also, we are going to use the fuel cell technology, and where we are going to have these batteries is required. Where they are going to replacing of the batteries, they are going to use the fuel cell. Molten carbonate fuel cells are currently being developed for natural gas and coal-based power plants for electrical utility, industrial and military applications. And molten carbonate fuel cells are high temperature fuel cells that use an electrolyte composite of a molten carbonate salt mixture suspended in a porous and chemically inert ceramic lithium aluminum oxide and lithium ionium aluminum oxide matrix and matrix, since they operate at extremely high temperature of maximum of 650 degrees and above. Non-porous metals can be used as a catalyst at the anode and cathode and reducing the cost, because non-porous metals are less cost compared with other materials. There they can use the anode and cathode materials for a fuel stock or fuel cell membrane to reduce the cost. And alkaline, unlike alkaline phosphoric acid and polymer electrolyte membrane fuel cells, and do not require an external reformer to convert more energy will be dense fuel hydrogen. And due to high temperature at which they operate, the fuels are converted into hydrogen within the fuel cell itself by a process called internal reforming, which are also reduces the cost. Basically, conversion also will have a very easy process to convert to one form to the other form. The chemical reactions or electrolysis process are going to get very easy method. Although they are all more resistant to impurities than the other cells, right? Scientists are looking for a ways to make MCFC resistant enough to impurities from coal, such as the sulfur and particles. Because wherever the coal is involved, a lot of particles may be coming out. This particles clearance also very important. But time to time, you have to clean. The primary disadvantage of the current MCFC technology is durability. The high temperature at which these cells operate and at the corrosive electrolyte, used electrolyte, accelerate component breakdown and corrosion decreasing cell life. Scientists are currently exploring the corrosion resistant materials for components as well as fuel cell designs that increase the cell life without decreasing the performance. Scientists are currently exploring the corrosion resistant. You have a this thing pollution where you have the corrosion resistance also is there, and corrosion also one of the aspect to reduce the life of the anode and cathode materials for components as well as the fuel cell designs, that increasing the cell life without decreasing the performance. And these are all different things. This is you can see the anode and cathode reactions. We have CO3 plus H2 gives H2O and CO2 and 2 electrons. Cathode reactions will be having CO2 half O2 gives 2 electrons. That gives CO3 minus 2. Overall cell reaction H2 plus half O2 gives H2. And you can see this molten carbonate fuel cell. And where you are going to see this, we have anode and cathode, and carbon trioxide ions will be there here. And oxygen, hydrogen is one form, another one form, and the oxygen, hydrogen supply is here and oxygen supply is here, and both will be going to anode and cathode, and we are going to have the carbon trioxide ions will be forming in the center, and we are going to have the power, and this power will be connected to the molten carbonate fuel cell fuel cell stop, where you can store the energy here. And if you see this hydrogen is in and oxygen is in, and traveling also you can see anode and cathode, how the electrons will be traveling and how it will be moving from cathode to anode, and how we are going to produce it. Okay, you can see these two fuel cells of molten carbonate fuel cell, and the reactions also you can see, and you can see the anode reaction, you can see the cathode reaction, you can see the overall reactions of the overall reactions also. This is about two fuel cells. One is alkaline fuel cell and molten carbonate fuel cell. And we are going to have a phosphoric acid fuel cell. And a phosphoric acid fuel cell consists of anode and cathode, made up of a finely dispensed platinum catalyst or carbon. Platinum catalyst is very little bit costlier comparing with the other two. And this will be having and a silicon-based carbon structure, carbide structure that holds the phosphoric acid electrolyte. In phosphoric acid fuel cells, protons move through the electrolyte to the cathode, combine with oxygen, and electrons producing the water and heat. And here also the same thing, like alkaline fuel cell, we are going to have the producing the alkaline fuel cells, we have producing the water and heat. This is the most commercially developed by type of fuel cell and is being used to power many commercial purchase because it won't get any sound like a battery and we don't have any pollutions, eco-friendly, and a lot of things are there. That's why everybody is looking for the alternate energy source, like in place of the gensets and all, they're depending on solar power or the fuel cell power for the backup power. And sometimes you can use full power also using of this. And this is about the same arrangement. Excess fuel will be there. Water and heat is input, and H2 and H2O will be coming out. H plus will be having. And here we have the phosphoric acid fuel cell will be having the. You can see these hydrogen ions how they traveling and all, and you can see this hydrogen and oxygen how it will be going. And you have anode reaction with H2 is equal to two H plus and 2 electrons. And cathode will be having half photon, will use the 2H plus 2 electrons is equal to H2O. And this is phosphoric electric acid fuel cell uses liquid phosphoric acid as an electrolyte. The acid contained in a Teflon bonded silicon carbide matrix and the porous carbon electrodes contains a platinum catalyst. A phosphoric acid fuel cells are used liquid phosphoric acid as a electrolyte. The acid is contained in a Teflon-based silicon carbide matrix, and the porous carbon electrodes contain a platinum catalyst. And the phosphoric acid fuel cell case is considered the first generation fuel cell of a modern fuel cells. It is one of the most mature cell type and the first to be used commercially. There are over 200 units currently in use. And you can have the more units also, you can use it for currently they are using it 200 units for various purposes of it as a backup unit or the fuel supply unit or the charge unit in various places. This type of fuel cells is typically used in stationary power generation. I told already, like in case of generators, they are going to use this type of. In case of diesel generators and other generators, they are going to use a solar energy type or the fuel cell stock. And it can be automatically, there is no sound, there is no pollution, there is no, this thing will come from this by using of this fuel cell stock. But some PFCs have been used to power large vehicles such as the city buses. What we are seeing in Shamshabad, the airport, the buses is running with RTC, we are having the different types of fuel cell technology and battery technology, we'll be using it, and hybrid technology we'll be using to run the vehicle from city to the airport and without having any emissions and all. And these are vehicles already using from last 2 to 3 years. And PAFCs are more tolerant for impurities. Impurities are also very less because we are using and very costly materials we are using it, and there is no corrosion, there is no impurities on this, and the electrolyte, and you can use it for a long life, and you can use a good performance. And more than 60%, this also we having for 60% of the efficiency will be using it compared with the other two fuel cells. And they have more than the 60%, they have 80% efficient when used for a cogeneration and electricity and heat. And but less efficient general electricity alone 37 to 40% in moving things and all. If it is stationary, it can use more result and very good result. If it is a moving and transport purpose, we're going to have to keep it less efficient. And PFCs are less powerful than the other fuel cells. Use the same because temperatures and all are very powerful than the other fuel cells. Use the same weight and volume. As a result, these fuel cells are typically large and heavy because the stock we need the more and the fuel cell capacity is heavy, and that's why we have more PFCs will seen in the stationary objectives. PFCs are also expensive, like a PM fuel cell. PFC requires an expensive platinum catalyst, which raises to cost as a fuel cell. Well, where you are using as a catalyst, like platinum will be using it. You know that platinum is very costly comparing with the gold. Also, platinum is costly. Platinum coated materials can be used for a catalyst for this. And this is polymer electrolyte membrane, PEM fuel cells. And polymer electrolyte membrane fuel cells, so protons move through the electrolyte with the carbon cathode to combine with oxygen at the electrons and producing water and heat. In polymer electrolyte membrane fuel cells, protons move through the electrolyte to the cathode to combine with oxygen and electrons, producing water and heat. And polymer electrolyte membrane, FEM, uses a polymer membrane for the electrolyte with the platinum electrodes. We are also using the platinum electrode, using a polymer electrolyte membrane also. And there we are using an electrolyte for the platinum electrolyte. These fuel cells operate at low temperatures. These fuel cells are the best candidates for cars, for building and solar applications. Polymer electrolyte membrane, PEM fuel cells also use proton in fuel cells. Give us high power and other the advantages of the PEM cell will have low weight and less volume. It can easily accommodate the automobiles and for the running vehicles compared to other fuel cells. And fuel cells use a solid polymer as electrolyte, porous carbon electrodes containing a platinum catalyst. The only hydrogen and oxygen from the air and water to operate do not require corrosive fluids like some fuel cells. They are typically fueled with pure hydrogen supply from the storage tanks or onboard formats. This is about the fuel cell electrolyte membrane fuel cell operates relatively low temperature like 80 degrees centigrade, and low temperature operation allows them to start quickly, less warm up time, and resulting in less wear on system and components, resulting in better durability. You see the PM fuel cell, you have electric current and you have anode and cathode, and you have the supply of the excess fuel, and water and heat input will be low. And we see about low temperature operations. Uh, and however, it reflects that noble metal catalyst, typically platinum, will be used for separate hydrogen electrons and protons, adding to the system. The platinum electrode is also extremely sensitive to CO poisoning, making it necessary to empty in additional. And reactor to reduce CO in the fuel gas, if the hydrogen is derived from the alcohol or hydrocarbon. Yeah, this is the additional cost. And if you see this anode and cathode, H2 is equal to H2H plus 2 electrons, and cathode is half O2 plus 2H plus 2E minus is equal to H2. Finally, H2 will be coming out half O2 plus 2H will be combining here, and 2 electrons will be coming out from the anode, and mixing up put together we are going to have H2. Developers are currently exploring the platinum, lithium catalysts that are more resistant to CO and more durability and more costly and more life also will be there by using of this electrodes. And we have in this also again we have a solid oxide fuel cells, and this will work with a very high temperatures like 800 to 1000 degrees centigrade. Solid oxide fuel cells, we use solid ceramic electrolyte such as zirconium oxide, stabilized with yttrium oxide, and instead of liquid and operating of 800 to 1000 degrees centigrade, in solid oxide fuel cells, negative ions travel through the electrolyte to the anode, where they combine with the hydrogen to generate the water and electrons. And here you can see this solid oxide fuel cells, and here we have the fuel is in and air is in, and how the reaction will be taking place here. And if you take the 2H2O plus 4 electrons will be have cathode reaction, O2 plus 4 E electrons, and 2 O2 will be coming. Overall reaction is 2H2 plus O2 use the 2H2. Since the electrolyte is efficiency of around 60% and are expected to be used in generating electricity and heat in industries, and potentially for providing the auxiliary power units. Auxiliary power units like hybrid vehicles, hybrid modes. You can use an external power for the few components like where you have a lot of electronics is involved in automobiles, and we are having a backup unit like a battery, and as well as a fuel cell, you can use it for the components where you are operating with electronics, electronics mode of operation in vehicles. Since the electrolyte is solid, the cells do not have to be constructed in the plate like configuration typical the other fuel cell. And basically you have a fuel stock will be there, but in a solid fuel cell, you can like a battery, you can use it as a single unit. High temperature operation removes the need of precious metal catalyst, thereby reducing costs. They are not poisoned by carbon monoxide, which can even be used as a fuel. Sulfur resistant. This allows SOFC solid to use gases made from the coal. Scientists are currently exploring the potential for developing a lower temperature SOFCs operating below 800 degrees centigrade that, however, fewer durability problems and cost less. And regenerative fuel cells. This is another aspect. New research is going on in regenerative fuel cells. This class of fuel cells produces electricity from hydrogen and oxygen, but can be reversed and powered with electricity to produce hydrogen and oxygen effectively, storing energy or electricity. This regenerative fuel cells, this class of fuel cells produces electricity from the hydrogen and oxygen, but can be reversed and powered with electricity to produce the hydrogen and oxygen effectively storing energy or electricity. And these are the different reactions I already sent to you. These the reactions you can see, and you have a polymer electrolyte, polymer membrane, and operating temperature will be there. Anode and cathode reaction you can see, and direct methanol can have the polymer membrane, and 30 to 80 degrees anode and cathode reactions you can see, and alkaline potassium hydroxide, and temperatures will be 150 degrees and 200 degrees. Anode and cathode reactions you can see, and phosphoric acid as the electrolyte used, and operating temperature 180 degrees and 200 degrees. Anode and cathode reactions can be seen. Molten carbonate also we have lithium potassium carbonate, and here we have 650 degrees centigrade of temperature, high temperature, and anode cathode reactions you can see. And solid oxide we have yttria, stabilized zirconia is used. Yttria. Yttria stabilized zirconia will be used, and the very high temperature where you are having, the scientists are working on this. The low temperatures also 1000 degrees temperature. You can see the anode and cathode reactions, very simple reactions. You're going to get the high power. Okay. Basic energy conversion of the fuel cell can be described as chemical energy of the fuel is equal to electrical energy plus heat energy. I have already told in the definition. And these energies having through electrolysis process, we are going to get the chemical energy, and anode and cathode will be reaction. And electrical energy, any fuel cell will use the electrical energy and the heat energy. And how we are going to give is the fuel cell, one is oxygen and hydrogen, and you can have the electricity energy will be having the electricity in volts, and we have the heat will be byproduct, and water will be the byproduct, because after the reaction you are going to get the heat and water, and electricity is the power. The input energy is that producing during the reaction at the electrodes. And if you talk about the performance, one measure of the energy conversion efficiency of a fuel cell is the ratio of the actual voltage at a given current density to the maximum voltage obtained under no load of open circuit conditions. One measure of the energy conversion efficiency of a fuel cell is the ratio of the actual voltage at a given current density to the maximum voltage obtained under the no load open circuit conditions. Efficiency is equal to load voltage by theoretical open circuit voltage. Theoretical open circuit voltage will give efficiency. And if you go to the thermodynamic analysis, as per the first law of thermodynamics, it is usually formulated by stating that the change in the internal energy delta H of a closed system is equal to the amount of heat supplied to the system minus the amount of work W performed by the system on its own surroundings. It is usually formulated to stabilize, starting the energy in the internal energy delta H. Delta H is change in enthalpy of a closed system is equal to the amount of heat supplied Q. Q is generally we'll talk about ds is equal to dq by t, and dh is equal to dq by T, where we are going to have the change in the heat in a closed system. Everything will be happening internally. We call it as a closed system. And Q to the system manage the amount of work performed by the system on its surroundings. Because basically we are talking about splitting of the electrolytes by using of electrolysis process, chemical process. Chemical process, we are going to have heat and energy only. And fuel and oxidant we are going to see, and control volume and electrolyte. Delta H is equal to Q minus W. Change in enthalpy is equal to heat minus work done. Defining the work done, electrical energy is in general described by the relation W is equal to E into delta T, where E is the cell voltage and I is the current. EI into delta T, I is the current. Because we are talking about the work. In this work we are calculating as the electrical work. E is the voltage and I is the current, and delta T is the temperature. In a fuel cell reaction, electrons are transformed from anode to the cathode, generating a current. In a fuel cell, electrons are transformed from the anode to cathode and generating the electricity. The amount of electricity current to delta T transformed where the reaction occurs given by NF, where N is the number of electrons transferred, F is the Faraday's constant, that is called 96,493 coulombs. So the electrical work can be calculated by W into NFE, work done on the surroundings. The first law becomes delta H is equal to Q minus NFE, work done to the surroundings. Basically, we call it delta H is equal to Q minus W. The W place we are going to have NFE is the work done on the surrounding. And next we have a thermodynamic analysis too. Okay. Okay, shall we stop today with this class? Any doubts, any clarifications regarding our today's class?
So can you send problems on the ongoing topics, sir?
We have some problems, we'll work out, but it's a very small problem.
Okay, sir.
Very small problem. Comparing with the other chapters, any other doubts? Okay, tomorrow is 8:30 or 8?
8:30, sir.
Okay.